The station hung quietly in space, orbiting a giant blue gas planet. It was a place where many species met to trade, to negotiate, and to plan. Humans, elves, and aliens from far stars walked the halls together, each with their own thoughts and worries. For most humans, it was just another job, but for the station, every meeting could change the future of the galaxy. Lyra, the 19-year-old alien princess of the Illyri, stepped off her small shuttle with her guards. She was tall, with skin that shimmered faintly under the station lights and hair that flowed like silver. Her eyes were wide, curious, and proud. She had been told many things about humans, that they were stubborn, weak, and easy to underestimate. She did not like the thought of weakness, and she carried herself like royalty should, with her head high and her gaze steady. The station was crowded, but Lyra noticed him immediately. A young human engineer moved quickly through the corridors, carrying tools and talking softly to a small team. His hair was dark and slightly messy, his uniform simple but neat. His movements were calm and precise, and even in the chaos of the busy station, he seemed in control. Ethan. That was his name, she learned later. She watched him for a moment, studying the way he walked, the way he gestured to others without raising his voice. He did not seem afraid, and that angered her in a strange way. How could someone so small appear so strong in spirit? The royal advisor, Varret, leaned toward her. "Humans," he said in a low voice. "They are clever, but still primitive. They are useful only because of their stubbornness and strange thinking. You will see, they can be amusing, but never take them too seriously." Lyra nodded. She liked cleverness, but she did not like being told how to think. She smiled faintly and looked back at Ethan. He was speaking to other humans now, showing them a complicated diagram of the station's energy systems. She could hear him explain a clever idea he had for stabilizing the power flow during emergencies. His words were simple, but his thinking was sharp. She tilted her head. A pet could learn a trick, but a human? Maybe they were more dangerous than she thought. Later, the group entered the main briefing hall. The room was large, filled with humans, Illyri, and other alien delegates. A holomap floated in the center, showing the station and nearby asteroid fields. Ethan was there too, standing among human officers and engineers. He looked calm, as if he belonged. Lyra took a step forward and spoke, without thinking about the weight her words might carry. "For a species that barely left its own star," she said loudly, her voice carrying across the room, "your tricks are impressive, like a pet that learned a new game." She smiled, expecting some startled laughter or a bowing human. She wanted to hear astonishment at her sharp words, the quiet fear of someone humbled. The room went silent. Ethan froze for a moment, his eyes flicking toward her. He felt a hot rush in his chest, a mixture of surprise, anger, and humiliation. His mouth opened, then closed. He did not answer. He did not raise his voice. He simply turned his back to the princess and walked away without a word. Each step was deliberate, slow, and quiet. The hall seemed to hold its breath as he left, leaving the holomap and everyone else behind. Lyra's guards murmured to each other. Varret's face darkened. "What is he doing?" he hissed. "He should kneel. He should apologize. Humans are not supposed to act this way in front of royalty." But Ethan did not stop. He did not bow. He did not plead. He just walked. His shoulders were square, his hands relaxed at his sides. He carried himself like a man who knew his own value and who refused to let anyone take it away, not even a princess. Lyra blinked. She had not expected this. Her words had weight in her court, but here, a human could simply ignore her. She felt a strange sting in her chest, a new kind of frustration. How could someone so small, so weak in body, seem so strong in spirit? Captain Laura King, the human officer overseeing the station's security, stepped forward. She was tall and strict, her uniform spotless. "Princess Lyra," she said politely but firmly, "Ethan has every right to react as he did. His honor and the honor of his crew matters. You insulted him publicly." Lyra's lips pressed together. She was confused. On her homeworld, a remark like that would cause immediate respect or fear. No one walked away. No one ignored a royal. Yet here, the human did. He had chosen not to fight, not to bow, not to beg. He had simply walked. Varret's voice was sharp. "He will pay for this disrespect. Humans do not behave like this. It will set a dangerous example if we allow them to ignore royalty." "Perhaps," Laura replied. "It is not disrespect. Perhaps he simply values himself enough not to respond to insults that have no truth. That is how humans show strength." Lyra narrowed her eyes. "Strength," she whispered. She thought of the way Ethan had walked, the calm in his eyes, the quiet way he had refused to bend. Strength. She had seen many warriors and generals in her life, but none had this strange fire, this quiet stubbornness that burned without loud anger. The rest of the day was tense. The royal delegation moved through the station, but Lyra could not stop thinking about the human. She saw him in the engine bays, in corridors, always calm, always focused. He spoke to others without raising his voice. He corrected mistakes, and he carried tools with steady hands. Every movement was careful, deliberate, full of thought. She realized that this was not weakness. This was something entirely different. That night, in her quarters, Lyra sat by the window and looked out at the gas giant below. The station lights flickered against the blue swirl of the planet. She replayed the moment in her mind. Ethan had not shouted. He had not demanded respect. He had simply walked away. The silence of his rejection was louder than any argument she had ever won. She tried to feel anger as she would have on her world, but she could not. Instead, a strange mix of curiosity and unease filled her. Why did this small human, who she had expected to fear her, show so much quiet pride? Why did she feel a need to understand him, to see him again, despite the insult she had given? Varret appeared at her door, his robes brushing the floor. "Princess," he said, "you are troubled. Do not let a human's insolence affect your mind. Remember, you are royalty. They are beneath you." Lyra shook her head slightly. She did not speak. She knew what Varret said was true for her world. But here, in this station full of humans, aliens, and things she did not yet understand, she felt that something about Ethan mattered more than rank or title. In the quiet, Lyra made a small decision. She would watch him. She would learn why he had walked away. She would see what made humans so different. She did not yet understand respect, honor, or courage as they worked in this species, but she wanted to. Meanwhile, Ethan worked late in the engine room. He did not speak to anyone about the incident. He did not think of revenge nor of anger. He simply focused on the station, on the machines, and on keeping his crew safe. He had no illusions about princesses or alien pride. He only knew that words should not dictate his worth, and that a single insult could not change who he was. He repaired damaged conduits, checked pressure readings, and quietly guided his team through repairs. Every movement was careful, every decision practical. In his silence, he showed more strength than words ever could. The next day, the station prepared for another series of meetings. Lyra entered the halls with her usual grace, but her eyes searched for Ethan. She wanted to see him, to understand him, perhaps to test whether her insult had truly mattered. She found him in the corridor, adjusting a tool panel. Their eyes met briefly. He nodded once, without a smile, without anger. The simple gesture carried more meaning than any word she could have spoken. He had not forgotten, but he had not allowed anger to rule him. He had walked away, yes, but he had not disrespected her in return. Lyra turned her head slightly and followed him with her eyes as he went down the hall. A strange feeling came over her, a mixture of guilt, respect, and curiosity. She had always believed words could control people. She had always believed that titles could bend minds. Here she was learning that humans were different. Their strength came from within, quiet and unyielding. That night, Lyra could not sleep. She replayed the meeting, Ethan's calm face, his steady walk, and the quiet way he refused to react. It was maddening and fascinating at the same time. She thought about the humans she had met so far and realized that they were stubborn, clever, and unafraid in ways she had never seen before. For the first time in her young life, Lyra felt uncertain. She did not know if she was right, if her words were correct, or if her royal upbringing had failed to prepare her for this. She knew one thing. Ethan had shown her something she had never expected. He had walked away, and in doing so he had taught her the value of quiet strength. And somewhere deep inside, Lyra realized that she wanted to see him again. Not to confront him, not to insult him, but to understand him. She did not yet know what that meant, but for the first time she was willing to step beyond pride and curiosity to learn from a human. The station continued its hum of lights, engines, and voices. Alliances would be tested, meetings would continue, and somewhere in the corridors, a young human had silently taught a princess that strength does not always roar. Sometimes it walks away. The day after the meeting, the station felt tense. Humans and Alari moved in careful steps, speaking softly to avoid mistakes. News of Lyra's insult and Ethan's silent departure had spread. Whispers traveled through corridors. Some humans avoided the Alari delegation, worried about offending them. Some Alari muttered about human insolence, shaking their heads. The station command wanted calm, but no one could ignore the tension. Lyra wandered through her temporary quarters, restless. She could not stop thinking about Ethan. Why had he not answered her? Why had he simply walked away? Her advisors told her that humans were fragile and easily insulted. But Ethan had shown no weakness. He had shown control, calm, and courage, all in one quiet act. She had never seen anything like it. Verrett entered her room, his robes rustling softly. "Princess," he said, "you must understand. Humans do not behave like we expect. If you wish to maintain influence, you must act carefully. One small mistake could anger them. Pride is dangerous with their kind." Lyra frowned. She had always been taught that words could command respect, but here, words had almost no power. "I do not understand," she admitted. He did not bow, he did not shout, he did not beg, he just walked away. "Why does that matter?" Verrett sighed. "Because, Princess, humans have a different kind of strength. They respect themselves. They do not need to fear you to act. If you want their cooperation, you must earn it. They do not take gifts of obedience lightly." Lyra turned to the window. The station's lights reflected on the blue planet below. She thought of Ethan, moving through the corridors, fixing machines, speaking to his team. He was small compared to most Alari, but his presence was firm. She realized that her words had hurt him, but he had controlled his reaction. That, she understood, was more powerful than fear. Later, the station faced a small crisis. One of the cargo rings began to leak fuel. Alarms blared, warning of a possible explosion. Ethan immediately took charge. He directed his team to contain the leak, checking pressure lines and reinforcing safety systems. Despite the danger, he moved calmly, never panicking. His hands were steady, his mind focused. Lyra watched from a distance, fascinated. The princess had seen many leaders in her short life, but none acted like this human. He did not shout. He did not demand obedience. He simply acted, using his mind, his skill, and his courage. Every decision mattered, and every choice saved lives. As the crisis ended safely, The station's captain, Laura King, praised Ethan in front of the crew. "Excellent work," she said. "Your quick thinking and careful planning prevented disaster." Ethan nodded silently, acknowledging the compliment with a small, respectful gesture. He did not boast. He did not seek attention. He had done his job, and that was enough. Lyra, curious and unsettled, decided to approach him. She walked to the engine bay where he was checking systems. Her guards trailed behind, but she ignored them. Ethan looked up, calm as ever, and gave a polite nod. Lyra felt a strange tension. She wanted to speak, to test him, to see if he would react this time. "Human," she said, "you handled the leak. Impressively. For someone so small, you act as if nothing can hurt you." Ethan glanced at her, his face neutral. "Thank you," he said simply. "I just do my job. Safety matters more than pride." Lyra frowned. She expected him to bow, to argue, to feel insulted. Instead, he was calm, almost indifferent. It irritated her and fascinated her at the same time. She realized that he would not be swayed by words or by her presence. She had no control here. The next days brought more meetings. The Alliance planned exercises to prepare for possible threats in nearby systems. Lyra attended as an observer, but she noticed Ethan again and again. He suggested improvements to the station's systems, predicted possible failures, and corrected errors quietly. Each time, he acted not for praise, but because it was necessary. During one planning session, Lyra offered a suggestion for defense, based on Ilari tradition. Her plan was strong, structured, and authoritative. Ethan listened carefully, then suggested a small adjustment that made her plan more effective. He explained it simply, pointing out the risks of ignoring minor pressure leaks and energy flow changes. Lyra's cheeks flushed. She had expected him to accept her authority without question, but he had challenged her gently, calmly, and clearly. She felt her pride prick. Yet she could not deny that his suggestion was correct. The simulation confirmed it. She realized for the first time that humans could see flaws that even Ilari could miss. After the session, she followed him to the observation deck. He was alone, watching the blue planet below, his posture relaxed but alert. She wanted to ask why he had walked away from her insult, but she did not know how. She had never faced someone who refused to react. Finally, she spoke. "Why did you walk away?" Her voice was quiet, almost uncertain. "Why did you not answer me?" Ethan looked at her, calm and steady. "Because your words do not define me," he said. "I respect myself. If you see me as a pet, that is your choice, not mine. I will not argue over an insult. I will act when it matters." Lyra blinked. She was silent. She had never heard this before. On her planet, pride came from obedience and fear. Here, pride came from choices, from acting with courage, from standing for yourself. She had underestimated humans. She had underestimated him. Ethan continued. "Respect must be earned, not demanded. If you want it, show it. Otherwise, words are empty." Lyra felt something shift inside her. She realized that he was not only strong, he was wise in a way she had never known. He did not fear her. He did not hate her. He simply acted according to what he believed was right. That was more powerful than any title or command. Their conversation ended with no further words. Ethan returned to his work, and Lyra stayed at the deck, thinking. She watched him in her mind, remembering his calm, his focus, his quiet courage. She knew now that she had been wrong to judge him by his size or species. Meanwhile, the station received news from long-range sensors. Scouts reported a void swarm fleet moving toward the system. The Alliance prepared for possible conflict. Humans and Ilari were needed together, each with their skills, each with their courage. The stakes were higher than ever. Lyra was summoned to the command center. The Illyri King's message was clear. She must represent her people, maintain decorum, and ensure humans respect Illyri technology. Verret reminded her to be careful, to not let personal feelings interfere with duty. Lyra nodded, but her mind was still on Ethan. She realized that understanding him, learning from him, might be more important than obedience to her advisors. Ethan was assigned to lead the human engineering teams for the defense drills. Lyra would observe and report back to her court. They would work together, whether they liked it or not. She felt a strange thrill of anticipation. This human had walked away from her insult, but now they would face real danger together. She wondered how he would act when the station itself was under threat. In the next few days, Lyra watched Ethan move through the station. He coordinated teams, checked repairs, and planned contingency actions. He treated humans and aliens alike with respect, giving credit where it was due and taking responsibility for mistakes. She realized that leadership for humans was different from what she had known. It was quiet, practical, and earned through action. One evening, as the station lights dimmed for maintenance, Lyra approached him again. She did not speak at first. She simply watched him work, saw the careful way he handled delicate equipment, and noted how the team responded to him. Then she spoke softly, almost as if testing herself. "You are impressive," she said. "I did not understand humans before. Now I see. You are not like anyone I have met." Ethan paused, looking at her. His expression was neutral, but there was a hint of acknowledgement. "Thank you," he said. "It is not about being impressive. It is about doing what must be done." Lyra nodded, feeling a new respect grow inside her. She realized that pride and strength were not shown by words or titles, but by action and courage. She thought about the day he walked away. That moment, simple as it seemed, had changed her understanding of humans. As the night deepened, the station hummed with quiet energy. Crews worked, lights flickered, and the blue planet spun slowly below. Lyra stayed at the observation deck, thinking of Ethan and the lessons she had learned. She felt a strange mix of guilt for her insult, admiration for his courage, and curiosity about what humans could teach her. Somewhere in the corridors, Ethan worked late into the night, unaware of the thoughts of the alien princess. He fixed machines, checked systems, and guided his team with quiet skill. He did not seek recognition. He did not care for her pride or insults. He simply acted as he always had. The next morning, Lyra prepared for the Alliance drills. She would observe, she would report, and she would learn. She also realized that she wanted to see Ethan's mind at work, to understand how he thought, how he solved problems, how he led. She did not yet know what would happen, but she knew this human had changed her world simply by walking away and refusing to react. As she stepped into the corridor, she saw him again. His calm eyes met hers briefly. No words were exchanged, but a silent understanding passed between them. He had shown her something she could not have learned from a book, from advisors, or from her court. He had shown her the quiet power of humans, and she would not forget it. The station prepared for drills, and soon they would face dangers greater than words or pride. But Lyra knew one thing for certain. The human who had walked away from her insult was someone she had to watch, someone she had to understand, and perhaps someone she could learn from. And Ethan, unaware of the thoughts of the alien princess, continued his work. For him, the station, the safety of the crew, and the task at hand were all that mattered. The insult, the royalty, the politics. They did not change what he did or who he was. In his quiet, steady way, he showed the true human strength, action without boast, courage without demand, and honor that no words could shake. The Alliance drills began early the next day. The station buzzed with energy as humans and Illyri prepared for simulated attacks. Lights flashed, alarms sounded, and the hum of engines filled the corridors. Lyra stood in the observation room, her eyes fixed on Ethan as he moved through the control panels, directing teams with calm authority. He checked every system twice, explained procedures to human engineers, and coordinated with Ilari technicians. His voice was steady, clear, and confident. Lyra watched him carefully. She noticed how his team responded to him, not with fear, but with trust. Each instruction he gave was practical, precise, and always focused on keeping people safe. She realized that leadership for humans was different from Ilari tradition. It was quiet, practical, and earned through action. The first drill scenario began. Simulated void swarm ships approached the station, and the teams had to react quickly. Ethan directed the human engineers to reroute power to shield generators that were under strain. He called out to his team, "Check the outer hull conduits. Seal any microfractures before they widen." Lyra observed as the shields fluctuated and alarms blared. The Ilari side of the station tried to reinforce the energy barriers using their advanced technology. Lyra suggested an adjustment based on Ilari protocol. She was confident that her plan would hold, but she also wanted to test the human engineer who had walked away from her insult. "Increase energy flow to the upper grid," she said. "Use the pattern we trained for. It will stabilize the shields faster." Ethan looked at the readouts and shook his head slightly. "If we push the upper grid too soon, the system could overload," he replied calmly. "We need to rotate power between the grids. Stabilize here first, then adjust the upper section." Lyra's eyes widened. She had expected him to follow her instructions, to respect her authority automatically. Instead, he challenged her gently but firmly. She frowned. Her pride pricked. Yet, as she watched the simulation, she realized he was right. The rotation method worked better, kept the shields steady, and prevented a simulated breach. The drill continued. Ethan moved like a conductor, guiding teams, anticipating problems before they occurred. Fires in the simulation flared, hull breaches opened, and alarms screamed. Yet he remained calm. He reassured his team, praised their quick thinking, and corrected mistakes without blaming anyone. His actions inspired confidence, not fear. Lyra felt something she had never felt before. Admiration mixed with unease. She had always been trained to control others with authority. She had expected fear or obedience from humans. But Ethan did not fear her, and he did not obey blindly. He led with reason, skill, and courage. She was beginning to understand that humans were strong in ways she had never imagined. After the first drill, the teams gathered to review results. The Ilari praised her suggestions, but even they could not deny the effectiveness of Ethan's adjustments. He spoke quietly, explaining why certain choices worked and why others could fail. His logic was simple, clear, and undeniable. Lyra approached him later, her curiosity stronger than ever. "Your plan worked," she said softly. "Better than mine." Ethan glanced at her, expression neutral. "It is not about being better," he replied. "It is about solving the problem. If the goal is safety and success, then the method that works is the right one." Lyra blinked. She had never heard anyone speak like this before. On her homeworld, discussions about leadership were full of pride and titles. Here, success was measured by action, results, and the protection of others. She felt a strange mix of humility and respect. The drills continued for several days. Each time, Lyra offered suggestions, and each time, Ethan quietly improved them with practical reasoning. She began to follow his lead without realizing it. When the simulations grew more difficult, she saw how humans relied on quick thinking, adaptation, and teamwork, rather than rigid hierarchy. She realized that these qualities made them unpredictable, clever, and strong. One evening, after a long day of drills, Lyra found Ethan alone on the observation deck. The station lights reflected on the gas giant below, painting the room in blue and silver. She approached cautiously, unsure how to speak. She wanted to apologize for her insult, but words felt insufficient. She had underestimated him, and now she had learned from him in ways she had not expected. "Why did you not answer me before?" she asked softly, almost whispering. Ethan looked at her calmly. "Because your words did not define me," he said. "I respect myself. If you see me as a pet, that is your choice. I will not argue over an insult. I act when it matters." Lyra frowned. She had always believed that words could control people, that fear and pride were enough to bend minds. She realized now that strength came from choice, courage, and action, not from titles or insults. Ethan continued, "Respect must be earned, not demanded. If you want it, show it. Otherwise, words are empty." She was silent. She had never met someone so steady, so sure of himself. She understood in that moment that humans did not follow because they were told, but because they chose to. She had misjudged him, misjudged his species, and perhaps misjudged herself. The next drill scenario began early the next day. The station simulated an attack much closer to the core, with multiple breaches and failing systems. Ethan moved quickly, guiding teams, checking reports, and fixing errors. Lyra followed his lead, suggesting adjustments, but she allowed him to decide the final actions. She felt a strange thrill of trust she had never experienced before. During the simulation, a small explosion shook the control room. Smoke filled the air, and alarms blared. Lyra's heart raced, but she did not panic. Ethan moved calmly, directing his team to contain the damage, reroute power, and secure sensitive systems. His hands moved quickly over the controls, his mind thinking several steps ahead. Lyra realized that this was human strength. It was quiet, it was steady, and it was practical. It was courage without boast, leadership without demand, and intelligence that could adapt under pressure. She had never respected anyone like this before. After the simulation ended, Lyra approached him again. "I misjudged you," she said softly. "I thought humans were weak. I thought my words would control you. I see now that I was wrong." Ethan nodded slightly, not proud, not pleased. "It is enough that you understand," he said. "We all make mistakes. What matters is what we do next." For the first time, Lyra felt humility. A strange and new feeling. She realized that her actions, her words, and her pride had limits. Ethan's calm courage had shown her a better way. She wanted to learn from him, to understand how humans acted, thought, and led. She had insulted him, yet he had shown her strength without anger or pride. The drills continued, and each day Lyra found herself watching him, learning from him, and beginning to trust his judgment. She saw how humans could adapt, how they could take responsibility, and how they could inspire others without words or titles. She felt a growing respect for this species and especially for this one human who had walked away from her insult and shown her a new kind of power. As the drills ended for the day, the station quieted. Engineers and technicians returned to their quarters. Lyra remained at the observation deck, thinking of Ethan and the lessons he had taught her. She realized that she would never see humans the same way again. Their strength was not in numbers, not in technology, but in the courage to act, the wisdom to choose, and the discipline to lead without seeking praise. Ethan, unaware of the thoughts of the alien princess, walked through the engine bays, checking systems and guiding his teams. He acted as he always had, calm, steady, and focused. His pride was quiet, his courage practical, and his respect for others earned, not demanded. Lyra watched him for a long time. She knew that soon the station might face real danger, not just simulations. She wondered how he would act when lives were truly at risk, when the Void swarm fleet approached their system. She realized that whatever happened next, she wanted him by her side, not because he was a human, not because he had walked away from her insult, but because she trusted his judgment and admired his courage. That night, as the station lights dimmed and the hum of machinery filled the halls, Lyra thought about the future. She thought about humans, about courage, and about the lessons she had learned. She knew that the insult she had given had changed nothing about Ethan's strength, but it had changed her understanding of humans. She knew that respect must be earned, and she understood now that she had much to learn. The next morning, she would observe more drills, follow Ethan's lead, and continue to learn from the quiet courage of a human who had refused to bow, refused to fight with words, and had simply acted when it mattered most. She felt a strange excitement. The galaxy was large, dangerous, and full of unknowns, but for the first time, she felt that with humans like Ethan, there was hope. And somewhere deep in the engine bays, Ethan worked as he always did. Unaware of the thoughts of the alien princess, he focused on the station, on his team, and on doing the right thing. His calm, steady courage shone quietly, teaching lessons without words, proving that humans were not to be underestimated. Lyra watched him, learning, understanding, and preparing herself for whatever came next. She had been proud, ignorant, and hasty. Now she was curious, respectful, and ready to face the challenges ahead. The drills were just the beginning. Real danger would test them both, and she knew that when the time came, she wanted him by her side, not as a servant, not as a subordinate, but as a partner in courage, intelligence, and action. The station continued its quiet hum, preparing for the real challenges that lay ahead. Humans and Alari worked together, and in the midst of it all, a young alien princess learned to respect a human engineer who had walked away from an insult and had shown her the true power of quiet strength.